Those of you who don't know me, I'm Bill Urbanik, a SecondHalf Coach Wealth Management. I'm one of the managing partners here and part of the wealth management team. And welcome again to another segment of Hot Coffee, Hot Topics. With us today, I have Jason McCoy, who is what we like to call a mortgage expert. And we're going to talk to him today about what he does and different situations within the mortgage environment right now. And so thanks for being here today, Jason.
Thanks for having me.
Why don't we start, Jason, by you telling the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Jason McCoy. I am a mortgage broker here in Westmoreland County, based out of Greensburg. I specialize in home mortgages, a little bit of commercial, a little bit of investment. If you need to borrow money for a house, rental property, whatever it may be, that's where I'm at.
And where's your office located?
Fry Farm Road in Greensburg.
Okay.
Between Lakes Road and Greensburg.
Near Beatty Crossroads.
Yes.
Okay. Jason, I think that when people think of buying a house, a lot of things cross their mind. The first thing that probably crosses their mind is, where are we going to get the money? And I would think that most people automatically think of their bank. Where they get their checking, where they hit the ATM, where they have some of their savings. Tell the audience why it would be advantageous to them to go to someone like you as opposed to walking in their local branch.
As a broker, I'm able to access numerous interest rates where your local bank usually has access to only their interest rate. So if they offer 3 products and this is the interest rate, I may be able to offer you 30 products with 30 different interest rates. I do the shopping for you, so you don't have to do that legwork, just to make life a little easier.
Well, I would think that that's really helpful because everyone wants the best deal possible.
Absolutely.
And you don't buy a house every day. So maybe you buy one, let's say every couple decades or so. You might not trust yourself to really know how to go about shopping around. So by coming to someone like you, you're basically using your experience, your expertise, your knowledge of the industry right now to direct their lending to where it's most beneficial to them.
Correct, yes. And I basically will calculate the income with the debt to make sure that your local bank isn't just trying to sell you something. I want to make sure that you're not being taken advantage of, so to speak.
Well, one of the things that have upset me over the years is hearing how people are constantly pitched when they go to their bank for just maybe to take a withdrawal or something like that. The teller maybe, hey, I see you, why don't you take out a home equity loan? We got these rates right now. Or have you thought about refinancing your mortgage to a variable rate? I won't mention the bank that I go to, but there was a time when I actually walked into a branch where the people there were not familiar with who I was and what I do. And I had a 30-year fixed mortgage at low 4% at the time. And the teller tried to convince me to refinance that into a variable rate mortgage.
Yeah. Well, their job is to sell you something.
Exactly.
That's basically their job.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to say argue, but I started asking some questions about why I would do this, kind of being a little bit of a smart aleck, okay? And then I explained to her what I do for a living and why you wouldn't want to do that. And she basically told me, I've got to say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which was partially troubling. So you being a mortgage broker, you're independent.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
You don't work for a bank or for a lender.
Nope.
You work for the client.
That's my job.
Yes.
Not quite a fiduciary in your terms.
Yes.
But it's my job to make sure that you're happy.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you'll stay at your local bank.
Mm-hmm.
So my job is basically to say, I can save you these fees because I'm not a bank.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to charge you processing fees and application fees and all these fees.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I get paid. I get paid from the lenders that I do the loans through.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the bank gets paid a salary, so they have a lot more overhead.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I save money to you guys.
And would you say the process from start to finish on a mortgage, from the time you fill out the applications to the time people are sitting at their closing?
It's on average between 2 and 4 weeks.
And that can be a confusing 2 to 4 weeks. People can be asked, lenders could be asking for additional information. You serve as kind of a middleman in that.
Correct.
Where
I make sure that I know what they're going to ask up front.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to get everything handled basically as we're starting the loan. So you don't have to collect documents every day for the next 2 to 4 weeks.
And that helps keep things smooth and on time.
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about interest rates. That's a hot topic in the news right now. They've gone up substantially over the last couple of years.
Very much so.
We were living in an environment there for a couple of years that was once in a lifetime, maybe.
Shangri-La.
Yeah. I know I personally refinanced all my stuff during that time frame. I hope other people did too.
Quite a few.
Yeah. So, historically though, rates today, historically they're still not horrible.
Historically, over 30, 40 years, correct.
Mm-hmm.
Historically, over the past 5 to 10 years, they're high.
Yeah.
No way around it. The interest rates are high right now.
We sat in a very low interest rate for a long environment for a long time.
Yes.
Longer than expected.
Correct.
Now, the reason why rates went up so fast is because we had an inflation problem, and the Fed wanted to curb inflation by trying to slow demand. So raising rates makes everything a little bit more expensive. Maybe people rethink buying, and demand goes down, supplies get built up, and we can see some normalization of prices again. Have you seen this in your business?
No.
Yeah.
So as interest rates go up, inventory goes down. So the demand is staying high. People don't want to build a house because of numerous reasons. Cost of building, interest rates again are high. They don't want to sell their current house because they have a low interest rate.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not enough housing inventory because people are slowing the sales process. So
when it comes to the housing market, it almost works against you.
100%, yes.
But the low rates that we experienced, the Shangri-La as you call them,
Mm-hmm.
created a pretty,
High demand
market and good lending prices and stuff. So it drove up values of homes.
Yep.
Okay. I mean, I heard stories of people paying 10, 20% over asking price. Bidding wars.
Absolutely. It's still happening.
Yeah. Now, what a lot of people I don't think realize when it comes to bidding wars is whether the bank's going to agree with what they agreed to pay for the house.
Yeah, the appraised value.
Right. Could you talk a little bit about that? Maybe even use an example of where a bidding war and somebody agreed to a price and then the lender was like, we're not lending that much.
Yes. And it's always comes down to the appraisal. So if the appraisal shows comparables
Mm-hmm.
that equal the value, you're fine. But if you're paying $230,000 for a house that was listed at $200,000, the appraiser is going to think twice about giving the higher value because he's got to find the comps. If he can't find the comps, the bank won't do the loan, or the buyer has to come up with that excess money. So
the bank will still do the loan, but they're going to do it on what their appraised value is. So they'll
Correct.
lend you 80% of that appraised value, and it's up to you to
whether
come
it
up
be
with
80, 90, whatever the
come up
terms
with the
are.
remaining 20 plus the overage you paid.
Yep.
Now, do you see in those situations banks requiring default insurance at all?
I have not yet.
No.
No.
Okay.
As the values are rising, and again, I don't know the entire real estate market. As the values rise in the homes, the appraisers seem to be keeping up with that.
Mm-hmm.
And the lenders also they know what's going on in each individual market. So if they see it rise too fast, 10, 20%, they're going to start questioning it and wanting new comps or more comps, whatever it may be.
So as of right now, we haven't seen a depreciation in housing values.
No, especially in this area, Western Pennsylvania.
Jason, one of the questions I get asked a lot is a lot of times people will ask whether they should be taking money out of their investment accounts and avoiding a mortgage and stuff like that. And, I just want to say to the viewers out there that is really a case-by-case situation. And there's really not a rule of thumb there that you can apply to every situation where people are considering a withdrawal of their assets versus borrowing. there's a lot of things to consider. Taxation of the withdrawals, how that money is doing, what the average rate of return is, what the compounding interest of that rate of return would do, supposedly or expected or hopeful of over a 3-5 year period versus, what the cost of the loan would be over that 20-year period. Those are all things that we would basically sit down with the client and run the numbers and let them see the cost of the loan and what they would maybe, hope to achieve over that same time frame in an investment.
Yep.
And what's best, I get that question too with car loans. Should I take money out of my IRA, pay cash to avoid having a car loan? So I would say to viewers, when you have these questions, please don't hesitate to call us and come in and do those appointments, and we can sit down and run those numbers for you and help you decide. There truly is no one size fits all answer to that you can just apply. So that's why we're here. Make sure you give us a call. One of the other questions we get a lot of is, with going back to the high interest rates, is something everybody wants to know is, when could we expect them to go back down? And, nobody knows.
No.
There's some who make some guesses and, where they may expect it to end of 2024, early 2025. I would say that I would expect rates to go down when the economy starts to slow. When the Fed feels that the GDP is starting to suffer a little bit, and they want to cut rates, a little bit at a time there to try to give the economy a little bit of a push, a little bit extra gas in the tank to keep it going. When we're going to see that, nobody knows. Is there anything you're hearing in your side of the industry, expectations or thoughts with regards to when they would expect rates to come back down?
Yeah, it's split. Half of the aisle is basically saying we're going to see it steady through the remainder of the year. We're going to slowly climb, maybe hit 10%. Nobody wants to hear that. The other half is saying you're going to see a roller coaster of interest rates for a little bit until the next election cycle, which should kick in pretty heavy before next summer. And then you may have one side or the other say, all right, we've got to lower interest rates to make people happy and start voting for us. But to go back to what you were talking about with, should you take the money out to buy a house or buy a car versus leaving your money invested? Just not to overstep, my take on that is make sure that people understand that 6% or 7% on a mortgage is not the same as 6 or 7% on earnings on an investment. A lot of people are equating that even to even. Mm-hmm. So over a 15-year period, when you have money invested, it's compounding interest, earns a lot more versus what you're paying in interest over the amortization of the loan.
Yeah, in one instance, you're paying down.
Absolutely.
In another instance, you're building up.
Correct. Yep.
So a lower rate of return on investment can actually achieve higher growth than the cost of a higher rate.
An actual large amount of higher growth versus what you're paying in interest.
Yeah, and I understand why it's deceiving. Someone says, 7%, mortgage, and I'm getting 5% on my investment. I may, So, and again, that's why we want you to come in so we can run the numbers and go through that. I think you'd be surprised when you look at what the cost of the loan is still today, even versus what you would hope to achieve from investments over a period of time. And again, those are all hypotheticals, and there are no guarantees. Past performance doesn't guarantee future results. But none of us can predict the future, so all we can go off is historical trends, statistics, and make good assumptions based on those things, and so that people can make an informed decision. And that's really what you want to make. You don't want to assume one or the other. You want to make an informed decision, and then really the only way to do that is to talk to somebody who can provide you that information so you can make the decision diligently with the information that you need. So, Jason, we're going to get wrapped up here today. Thank you again for coming in.
Thanks again for having me.
If our viewers were looking to get a loan in the near future, and hopefully the environment here changes so that boosts back up.
Yeah.
How would they reach you?
Office is on Fry Farm Road in Greensburg again at 432 Fry Farm Road. Website, westmorelandhomemortgage.com. All my contact information is there.
And one of the things I want to mention too about Jason, he's a local guy. He's right here, lives in our neighborhoods, goes to the same places we go. Where a lot of the banks now, the people you're dealing with regards to mortgages, you're dealing with someone from their corporate offices.
Michigan, California.
You know, a 1-800 number, you're getting a different person every time. You lose a little bit of that personal touch, obviously, and also having somebody who's with you from start to finish as opposed to it changing hands over and over again.
And doesn't know our local markets.
Exactly. So, so if you're looking for a mortgage, here's a guy you can check out and take you through that process. Jason, I thank you again for being here today.
Thanks so much. Pleasure.
Thank you. All right.